calling the meeting of Wednesday, October 7th to order. Today we have 5 items on the agenda, and I'm not aware of any changes. No? Are there any announcements or appeals? No? Okay. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to address the staff hearing officer on items not on our agenda? No? Seeing no one, we'll go to the first item, which is 316 Peach Grove Lane. If the applicant would like to come up. Good morning. Whenever you're ready, Rob.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Okay, project site, just about 6,500 square feet, is located on the corner of Peach Grove and Mandarina Court. Current development on site consists of a 1,200 square foot single-family residence with a 2-car garage access off of Peach Grove. The proposed project involves the addition of this family room connected to the rear of the residence. The discretionary application required for the project is a modification to allow the addition to be located within the outdoor living space. The project has been designed so that the recreation room is directly accessible through the kitchen area, but provides the open yard in 2 separate areas. The applicant's position is that this would allow an adult outdoor private space as well as a kid space, keeping them separate, but both are directly accessible off of the proposed room addition. Although staff can appreciate the design and the idea behind it, we are in the business of supporting modifications when there is no conforming option. It's staff's position that shifting the recreation room to either side of the property would allow for the 1,250 square foot area to be maintained. It could even be fenced to provide the separate areas needed for this particular family's design option, and therefore we are asking not to support the project. We understand that there are site constraints associated with both a small lot, although for an R4 it's not that small, but the double setbacks of 15 feet off both frontages, but are asking for the staff hearing officer to direct the applicant to redesign with conforming options.
Great, thank you. The minimum lot size in the R1 zone is 6,000 square feet, correct?
Correct.
So it meets the minimum lot size, and it currently meets the open yard area, correct?
It does.
Okay. If you'd like to state your name and association with the project and any comments you'd like to add.
Okay, I'm Carl Schneider with CSA Architects, and I'm the architect for the project.
Craig Minus, property owner.
And Tracy Myers.
And while we understand staff's position, we think that the site has 2 constraints on it. The second one, which I'll get to, is the fact that it's on a corner lot, so we have 2 front yard conditions. When we started this project, the goal was to expand the living area, which, according to the existing floor plan, is central in the house. The bedroom wing being to this side, and the garage being to this side. So the optimum place to add the addition is to expand this central space is out the back. We did look at putting it over here and trying to keep the open yard area in this area. What that does is requires us to either come through a narrow opening to the area or reconfigure the garage and come down a hallway to get into it. From a design standpoint and from a usability standpoint, we don't feel that that's optimum. The other option is, as staff points out, would have been to put it down here in order to keep the yard space configured. That requires, again, either coming through existing bedrooms or bathroom areas to get to it in order to create the open yard area. So from a purely functional standpoint, the central location works the best. We find it a little odd that if we were to do it over here, we could literally have one big space but separate it by a fence, creating 2 spaces within the one, and yet separating it by the house isn't really allowed via the ordinance, at least the way it's written at the moment. But we feel that we still provide adequate space. The total combined outdoor space is still meets the requirement. Then relative to the constraints of the two front yard setbacks, because we have the two setbacks, the front yard, the open yard space cannot project into them. There was recently, as I understand it, a zoning ordinance modification to try to accommodate these kind of situations where you've got two front yards, allowing, instead of requiring the whole 15-foot secondary front yard to be out of the open yard area, we got to gain 5 feet. So now they only restrict it to a 10-foot swath here. But if you eliminate this 10-foot piece that is not allowed, and say that takes us down to what would be considered a more normal interior site condition where this is the property line, that takes this property below 6,000 square feet. Below 6,000 square feet, if you had a lot below 6,000 square feet, the ordinance does allow for you to do your open yard area in one area or multiple areas. So it would allow for this solution to happen if the lot was 6,000 square feet. And we are arguing that because of this second yard area and the fact that we don't get to use this 10 feet for our open yard area, it effectively reduces the net lot area to below 6,000 square feet, and therefore we should be allowed to have our open yard area split into multiple areas.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I'd like to add just a few things and give you a little bit of background on how we got to this design. You wanna
yeah,
add to
go
that,
ahead.
Carl?
You could mention that.
Well, we also understand that a third option would be to go to a second story. And we talked to a number of our neighbors and spent a lot of time in our neighborhood. And it is predominantly a single story neighborhood. There's a petition that's included in the packet, basically showing support from our neighbors for this design. And it identifies that, if this was a two-story solution, there wouldn't be as much support from our neighbors. We also, we went through many revisions on this, and as property owners and users of this every day, we're really excited about this. One of the design goals we had was to minimize our effects on our neighbors. If we were to put it on the northmost side, we'll be affecting this neighbor to our north directly. I mean, we would be essentially right off here. Not to mention this neighbor behind us. The way we have it positioned, we have it right behind our neighbor's garage. So it wouldn't really affect them from a functional or visible standpoint. The other aspect of this design that we really liked was the ability to separate the yards. We have 2 young kids and a dog, and if you look in our backyard now, it's toys everywhere. And we really are looking in this design to be able to provide, a barbecue area, maybe a fire pit, and really call this our adult side. And this side really be more for the kids, have the toys and the lawnmowers out there. But the design that Carl's brought to us really ties both of these by maintaining the flow through here. There's 2 twin French doors that, not only would you have an internal connection, you still have an external connection. So we still feel that these are tied together, but really on a day-to-day basis meets the needs of a family of 4.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm going to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to address the staff hearing officer on 316 Peach Grove Lane? No? I did receive one letter from Paula Westbury opposed to the project. I don't know if you received a copy of it.
Just right before the meeting, yes.
Okay. So I closed the public hearing. I understand your goals of the project. To me, I would think a building in the rear of the property would provide a better buffer between the uses than an actual open area where people are congregating outside, doing barbecue, fire pit, that kind of stuff. The building structure itself would provide a buffer. When I was looking at this project, I'm struggling with it because I actually was the planner before I was a staff hearing officer who brought those zoning ordinance amendments through the process and sat through the public hearings and at council ordinance committee. And it was the Planning Commission who originally brought up the suggestion of allowing the open yard area to be provided in several areas on the site, because currently it's only allowed in the R2 zone, or previously it was only allowed in the R2 zone. And they recognized on smaller lots they are constrained. The options for additions are limited, and not everybody wants two-story homes in their yards. So they were open to reviewing that. So we researched what kind of, or the average lot sizes of parcels that receive the open yard modification for that kind of situation, and it was about 6,800 square feet. So this lot is actually smaller than what the average lot size was at that time. However, through the public discussion, there was a lot of opinion that projects or lots that meet the minimum lot size should be able to meet the zoning requirements, such as setbacks, the open yard, separation between buildings, those types of things. And so that's why the 6,000 square foot lot size was chosen, because that's the minimum size for the R1, and anything smaller than that is truly constrained because of the size. However, when we were looking at the amendments, we focused mainly on parcels with just one front yard. So your point of this having two front yards, which is a further constraint, it reduces the area that you can build in. That is a constraint, an additional constraint on your lot versus the typical size, typical lot that's 6,400 square feet and has one street frontage. When I scaled out your open yard area, I didn't reach 1,250 square feet. It looks like you added in this area here, so what you're showing right now doesn't even meet the 1,250 square feet. This area here is about 151 because it's less than 20 feet, so when you take the 151 out of the 1,365, when I scaled it, I actually got 1,205 square feet.
So we're 45 square feet short?
Yeah.
Well, we haven't taken into account any of our side yard, which...
You can't, it has to be minimum 20 foot dimension. So like this area back here, this wouldn't count either, or this, you didn't propose to include this, it wouldn't count. So as it's shown right now, it doesn't meet,
Why isn't this,
because this isn't 20 feet.
but it's contiguous in part of it, and you've still got a more than 20 by 20 area?
Any area you count needs to be less than 20, it needs to be at least 20 by 20 in any direction. So I don't know, propose to take off the office area, cut it down.
Yeah, we might be able to pull that back some and make that a little bit smaller. Or even narrow the whole thing a little bit to accommodate that. I mean, we only need to pick up 45 square feet or something, so I mean it's literally 2 feet out of this width somehow or other to accommodate that, and I think we could do that.
So I
Maintain that.
Yeah, I agree with staff's analysis in terms of that if this lot wasn't a corner lot, that I wouldn't contemplate approval of it, because it was sort of a concession to allow the 6,000 square feet lot, and then to use it as a justification to allow future modifications, I don't think is appropriate. But I think, given the situation that it's a corner lot, and when you net out this additional front yard, it does bring you below the 6,000 square feet. So I think I could make findings that the addition is appropriate improvement for your lot, and that it is consistent with the zoning ordinance, with the condition that the combined open yard area meet 1,250 square feet.
Of course.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that was our goal. So we're not trying to reduce that 1,250 square foot requirement. We are trying to meet it just in 2 areas. So
Okay.
we can accommodate that.
The other comment is the play structure can't be within the setbacks.
Roxanne had mentioned that we kind of put that in there, but we can obviously move that. That's not
Okay, so that's a second condition, that since it is on the site plan, it needs to be removed.
Right.
Okay, so with that, you have a project. I approve your project, and it's appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days. They also have oversight authority of all my actions here, and within that same 10-day appeal period, they could decide this warrants further discussion and call it up. And if that were to occur, if either of those instances were to occur, Ms. Milazzo would contact you. Okay?
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The next item is 2310 Skyline Way, if the applicant would like to come up. Hi.
Okay, this project site, 10,000 square feet and zoned E1, single-family residential, currently developed with a single-family residence, two-car garage, accessed here off Skyline Way. The proposed project is related to a major remodel that's going on the property. Many of the things being improved upon or to clear outstanding zoning violations. These are new property owners. One thing they would like to do is add a kitchen window on this existing kitchen wall. Current house is non-conforming to the interior yard setback of 10 feet. I think it sits at about 9, so they want to make a new opening. Staff's position is that the window, which is being proposed as fixed, is just going to add some passive lighting into the area. Should not impact the adjacent neighbor due to the fence that's existing. It's covered in vegetation. It's a single-story improvement, and is asking for approval of this project as it's submitted.
Great, thank you. Would you like to state your name for the record and add anything?
My name is Mehdi Hadiji. I'm representing Mr. Abel Gonzalez.
Okay, do you have anything?
No, really, that's all. We're just adding this window here.
Okay, great. I'd like to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to address the staff hearing officer on 2310 Skyline Way? No? I received also a letter from Ms. Paula Westbury expressing concerns, don't alter the house. Did you receive a copy?
Yes.
So I closed the public hearing. I went out to the site and read the staff report, and one of the main concerns is adding openings and setbacks is privacy, potential conflict. And I stood there and I stood by the house and looked, and I saw the same view as shown in the picture.
Yeah.
I people to see this is the view from the new window. It's not going to impact the neighbor, even if I'm standing at the face of the wall, and the improvements, it is a kitchen area, there's going to be cabinets and stuff in the way, so that's even puts you farther away from the side property. Your windows is supportable, and I can make the findings outlined in the staff report. Although I would like to make a change to the finding, just to reiterate the fact that it's a proposed fixed window. So the second sentence where it says the installation of the window will provide lighting benefits, just add the word fixed in front of window. So I approve your project, and my action is appealable within 10 calendar days to the City Council. And like I just said, the previous project, they have oversight authority, and if they decide to call it up, Ms. Milazzo will contact you.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah. The next application is 233 Los Andes.
Yes.
Hi. Whenever you're ready.
All right. This project site is approximately 8,000 square feet, currently developed with a single-family residence, two-car garage here in the rear. At some point in the past, the original one-car garage had been converted, and this garage had been replaced. Unfortunately, it's not really accessible because of the obstruction created here on the driveway width. So as a part of this project, they are going to be reducing about 15 square feet of the existing residence to provide legal access to the parking. So that kind of clears up a outstanding issue. The proposed project involves a remodel, some minor first floor additions, second story addition here on the back. The discretionary application required for the project is the installation of some new windows in this existing area, which is currently non-conforming to front yard setback. For the reasons like stated in the last application, these window changes are facing the street, not an adjacent neighbor, therefore shall not have any impacts onto those neighbors, and therefore staff can make the findings that it secures an appropriate improvement. We're asking for approval of this project for the window alterations as they're submitted. I want to point out the window here on the side is outside the setback. It's just in the front yard.
Okay.
So staff doesn't see any impacts to the adjacent neighbor with the one on the side of the garage as well.
House. Old garage.
The old garage.
I'm sorry, yeah, previous garage.
Okay, great, thank you. If you'd like to state your name for the record and add anything?
My name is Paul Zink, and I'm the architect for this application. One item I want to add is in the staff, under the findings, the staff is asking that they do a zoning compliance declaration for this room for the way the situation is situated, so that it can't become a future rental, and I would like to disagree with that. This is the original layout, and it's currently being used as the master bedroom. It has a full bath. There's a full window here. There's not exterior access, and there's a closet at this point. And right now there's a door here, and so in the process of modifying it, we're adding an entrance to the bedroom this direction so we can close off this wall, and so we can use that more for furnishing, because right now when you're in the dining room and the kitchen, you can see inside this bedroom. So we are adding a window here, a door at this location, and we're modifying these windows.
Yes.
Go to the next.
The exterior door.
An exterior door, that is correct. We are adding an exterior door. And in the olden days, if it looked like it could become a rental, then it was a rental in the eyes of the city. That had been modified or changed to saying that you could have 2 of 3 items, and that was an exterior exit, a full bath, or a wet bar. In this application, we have the exterior door and we have the full bath, and there is no zoning violations on this property for the owner. We did not convert this single-car garage into a bedroom. It was done before us. We're maintaining that access. So until the owner has a violation on the property, I don't think it is appropriate for staff to make that recommendation, because there's no real correlation between requesting these windows here or here and the potential zoning violation.
May I comment, Ms. Reardon?
Yes.
The 2 out of the 3 amenities
Yes.
is a restriction on what you can even apply for. We do not allow the 3 amenities in the same area. This is not dealing with that. We're just saying when you have an exterior access to a living area with a full bathing facility, the declaration is just an acknowledgement on the property owner's part that they understand this is a single-family zone and there's only to be 1 unit. And if anything happens without permits, that the city has the authority to go in and enforce immediately. It's just a recognition. It's a statement of acknowledgement. It's not accusing them, and this will stay with the property's title for subsequent owners as well.
I agree completely with that, because I understand I've had to do it with other projects, but I have 2 projects that have been built in the Mesa area that have the same consideration. This one is 144 Los Andes, which is 1 block away. It has a sliding glass door, bedroom, and a bath, and the bath is attached to the entry, and there's a door right here. This one was permitted in 2006. I have another project that is 1394 Shoreline Drive, and the permit was issued in 2008. And this one, we have a guest bedroom, and I even label this guest. This one was just bedroom number 2, where I have an interior door, but I also have a sliding glass door, and I have a full bath. In both of these applications, which were tear-down rebuilds, we did not have to do the zoning declaration. So in order to remain consistent, I can understand and I completely support when there is violations on the property, that's a fantastic tool the city has. But for until there's a violation on the property, I have a concern with applying that to this project.
Okay, great, thank you. I'd like to open the public hearing for 233 Los Andes. Is there anyone here who would like to address the staff hearing officer on this item? No? We also received a letter from Ms. Paula Westbury in opposition to this project.
I'm aware of it, yes.
Okay. I'd like to close the public hearing. I went out and visited the site. I've read the staff report. I agree with staff's determination that changing the door or windows or adding windows in the front setback is not going to cause any adverse effects to the neighborhood. I understand your concern regarding the zoning compliance declaration, and I agree with you in terms of window changes, that the window changes should not trigger the requirement for the zoning declaration. However, the addition and remodel may, and since the addition and remodel is not under my purview today, I wouldn't have a problem taking it off my approval, but that does not mean you do not have to do one. If during the standard plan check process through your remodel and the zoning plans examiner believes that it's necessary, that it needs to be recorded against the property, it needs to be recorded.
Okay.
But in terms of my approval of the window changes, I'm fine with taking it off and just
fine.
No.
That's right.
So I make the findings as outlined in the staff report without the proposed condition and approve your project. And my action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days, and you heard me before about the oversight. So if any of those would occur, Ms. Malazzo would contact you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next item is 515 Conejo Lane. If the applicant would like to come up.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, project site is a little over 8,000 square feet and located in the Conejo Fire Burn area. This is a replacement home on a single-family lot with two frontages, both off of Conejo Lane and Conejo Road. The proposed development is pretty much the same as the previous. The previous is identified here in the orange line. The property owners are going to take advantage of the rebuild opportunity to make some minor expansions to the residence just to improve the existing floor area configurations. The garage, which was previously undersized, is also going to have a minor expansion to meet the minimum 20 by 20 dimensions. Over on this side of the property, where the setback of 10 feet is non-conforming to the required 15-foot setback, the upper and level rooms are going to be expanded about 20 feet on each floor, just to make the usable space more usable. That 40 square foot of encroachment does need a modification in order to be constructed within the 15-foot setback. The applicant is also proposing 2 bay windows, one on each floor, just to give more inside feeling, larger space to the residents. Although staff is supporting the expansion of the floor areas, we are asking for you to reconsider the part of the modification asking for the window expansions. Our position is that the house is already going to be 5 feet into the setback, and that those bay window projections actually allow possible impacts to the future rebuild on the adjacent lot by allowing, privacy impacts in that setback area. So we feel that it does not meet the purpose or intent of the setback, and it's asking for those windows to be flush. The building will still be in the setback, but it will not have that further 2-foot encroachment into the non-conforming setback.
And now the open yard area is indicated right up against the property line. It needs to be pushed back 10 feet. It would still meet it, right?
Yes.
Okay. If you'd like to state your name for the record and add anything?
Yes, my name is Gary Jensen. I'm the architect. And with me is Elizabeth Farrow, and she's the owner of the project. And we would like to encourage you to approve the bay window on the project. Architecturally, it is something that is necessary, and design review also thought that was a good addition. It doesn't actually impact anything because it won't be a living space. It's just an architectural element that projects out. The existing wall of the building was already there, and zoning allows you to go 3 feet into a setback, and in a sense, we're not doing anything more than that. Further, the next door neighbor sent Elizabeth a letter, a note that says that he would not object to having a projection or a bay window in that location. So we'd encourage you just to include that that aspect. Anything else that you would like to say, Elizabeth?
He's 80 years old and they bought a house in Carpinteria, so they're not going to rebuild. They might save their land for their grandchildren. So and their property sits much lower. So he was just very nice about it. He called me on the way over here and asked if I wanted him to come over, but he lives in Carp. And I just said, I got to be there in 2 minutes, so but thank you. So,
Now, is the bay window elevated 3 feet above the finished floor, or does
Yes.
it go all the way down?
No, it would be elevated up 3 feet, so there would be no actual physical access to it. The location is here. Architecturally, the lines of the bay go through, but there's no floor there. It's just going to be a void space. So there's would be no floor there. It's just be elevated 3 feet.
But you could put storage or something under there. You put doors and use the space.
If that was a concern, then architecturally I just connected these two elements together, but I could disconnect them and have a bracketed system at this point and then just eliminate any void. We're not intending to use the void that's there, but I could do that. So I don't have a problem with that at all, just eliminating the void.
Because I think our encroachment allows it if it's 3 feet above finished floor, 3 feet above
That's correct.
grade.
Correct. Into the required setback.
And that's when it's conforming.
Correct.
Okay. All right, I'd like to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who'd like to address the staff hearing officer on 515 Caneo Lane? No? Seeing no one? We did receive a letter from Paula Westbury regarding this project and against the project. Did you receive it?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I actually had a question regarding this deck. Now, was there a deck here before? I couldn't tell from
That was
looking at.
illegal.
So it's illegal.
There was an existing deck. When the Farrows bought it, the deck was there. And but through staff and researching through the records, that we found that the deck didn't have the benefit of a permit. So our initial idea was that the deck would be part of, it would just be rebuilt in its location. But since it didn't have a permit before, then we would still intend to put the deck in, but it would be conforming to the setbacks, so it would not be encroaching at all. Our proposal encroached, but because we're just replacing what was there. But since it wasn't permitted, then we're going to pull it back.
Okay, but my plans show it in the setback.
I'm sorry, show what?
The deck, the rebuilt deck,
It should be the same plan you have.
Yeah,
because off of this,
the plan, you should just make that a condition that the deck will conform to the setbacks, and that's what we intend to do.
Yeah, no,
But
the deck's shown in the setback. It goes off the wall.
these plans
Here's
do
the
show
window.
Okay. So he revised the site plan, but the floor plans didn't get revised, because this clearly shows it's observing the setback.
It actually,
It looks like it goes out to here to me.
the deck on the plans hasn't been modified, so I didn't give you another
Okay,
set.
I thought these dotted lines meant the previous deck, which is being removed or is gone.
But it really becomes a non-issue, because we're not going to do the deck here. We'll just do the deck.
Well, it was
where
a
it
question I
conforms.
had, because reviewing the plans and then looking at aerials and stuff, I didn't see a deck there before. And second-story decks in the setback are a concern. So that's why I was wondering if you're expanding. If it is legal, that's one thing, and then if you're expanding it, that's another. So that was just
Yeah, we're
the
putting
gist
it
of the
in,
question.
and it'll conform to the setbacks. And there actually is an aerial photo that, it's grainy, but it's a Public Works photo that shows the deck there that you can see.
Okay.
So. But the deck that was there didn't have a permit, apparently. So we're asking for the permit, but it will be conforming to setbacks.
Okay. And the other question is this paved area right here. Is it permitted for parking? Because parking's not allowed in the front yard unless it's screened from public view. Do you know the status of this parking here?
No, there's no other parking recognized on the site as being legal.
And in order to legalize it, you'd have to ask for, well, actually it goes over your property line. You'd have to ask for a modification to have the parking in the front yard.
Do you use that for parking in that location?
No. I mean, no, we just have 2 cars. And,
Can we landscape it out and
Okay,
show it
we
that
leave it
way?
I mean, it's still, that didn't burn down. It's still there.
Well, it would need to be made inaccessible for parking. So the other question I had, and I think you're here since the beginning of the meeting, regarding our zoning ordinance amendments we did last year, and when we were talking about the open yard areas, we also changed the definition of front lot line. It used to be the line that separated a parcel from the public street, and then we took out the word public or private street, and we took out the property line and made it's just the line that separates the street from the property. So in this instance, just looking at the plans, the edge of the street's right here. So it would appear that the front setback would be taken from this line, which would mean there's more encroachments. However, I'm not sure, you have noted on here easements. Can you explain Conejo Road? What is?
This is Conejo Lane. Conejo Road is here.
Oh, sorry, I meant lane, yeah.
Conejo Lane
Right.
is here. And this is a private lane that serves a number of properties. And when this was done, part of the property description has an easement for access. And there's 10 feet on properties that are on the west side of Conejo Lane, and there's 19 feet on the east. And this is the area that's designated
As the easement.
as the easement
Okay.
for the roadway. When the roadway was put in, it's not put in exactly where the easement is, which happens a lot in mountainous areas. So the paving does go over on this other property, but my reading of the ordinance was that the setback is set from the right-of-way line, and this is the right-of-way line, and it doesn't really say from the edge of paving. At least I didn't see that. And so I did go over this with staff, and that this is the area. So this is the actual line that you actually count for the front yard setback. And then also noting that in this particular property we have the burden of 2 front yard setbacks on each side as well.
Yeah, well, how you get to it in that instance then is through the definition of street, and it talks about public or private easement for road purposes. So that's how staff then determined, that answers my question, that's how they determined that this is where you do the setback line from versus the pavement.
Yes.
So that answers that question.
Okay.
Okay. Well, like I said, I went out to the site, visited the site, and you're right, it burned down. There's nothing in your area. It's good to see the neighbor is rebuilding
Right.
now. So there's every time I go up there, there's more and more construction, which is nice. I can support the first and second story addition to your house being a uniform improvement, and that's appropriate. I do have concerns like staff protruding additional elements into that area between the two houses. But I could support it in this instance if it was at least 3 feet above the finished floor. So if you remove that and did the brackets, because that's not adding additional space, it's on the same idea as we allow a 3-foot encroachment. And I realize that is in the situation where you meet the setback, and this doesn't meet the setback, but you're not doing additional building area towards that property. So I approve your project with the condition that the windows be at least 3 feet above finished floor, that the this paved area be inaccessible for parking, and that the deck, be outside of the setback.
Okay.
Ms. Reardon, will those windows be expected to be fixed?
Yes.
Or can they be operable?
No fix.
Okay. Is that a problem?
We haven't really talked about that.
No, that we can make that work.
Good.
Okay, so paved area, inaccessible. Deck not into setback and fixed windows 3 feet above finished grade.
Yes.
All right. So my action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days, and they also have the oversight authority, which you've heard me say on the other projects. And if either of those instances were to occur, Ms. Malazzo would contact you.
Okay.
Okay?
Thanks for your help.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Take a break. Oh, sure. I'm going to take a 5-minute break. Thank you. Of Wednesday, October 7th. And we have the staff presentation.
Good afternoon, Kelly Bradison, Assistant Planner. The proposal today is for the operation of a medical cannabis dispensary within an existing commercial space at 741 Chapala Street. You can see here that the tenant space is located on Chapala Street on the corner of De La Guerra and Chapala between the Silver Greens restaurant and Isas Cafe. The access for the parking is taken off of De La Guerra Street. The dispensary would occupy 4 existing commercial condominium spaces totaling approximately 2,300 square feet. It is located within a mixed-use development known as Paseo Chapala and is on a C2 zoned lot. The lease space includes a retail operation that will be maintained separate from the dispensary area by providing an interior dividing wall between the dispensary area and the retail area. It will be a minimum of 6 feet tall. Let's see, demonstrate that floor plan here. So here's the retail area that you enter into off of Chapala, and then as you go to the right, the dispensary area is on the other side of this separation wall. The C2 zone is considered a commercial zone, and a dispensary at this location is not prohibited by the provisions of the code or any local or state law. Also, the proposed location is more than 500 feet from the nearest dispensary and more than 500 feet from any school or park. As illustrated in the staff report, the applicant has submitted an operational plan that details how the business would be operated to comply with Chapter 2880 of the zoning ordinance. With regard to security, there will be 12 cameras set up to monitor the inside of the dispensary and the entrance points of the dispensary, and these will help to ensure no loitering, nuisances, or criminal activity occur in and around the building. There would also be 2 guards one would be walking the perimeter of the dispensary and including the garage area, and 1 guard would be stationed at the entry for screening of patients. The proposed plans have been routed to Captain Armando Martel of the Santa Barbara Police Department, who also conducted a site visit. Captain Martel found the proposal consistent with the municipal code. The applicant has passed the required background check, and the proposed security measures have been found to be adequate by the police department. In conclusion, the project complies with Chapter 2880 of the Santa Barbara Zoning Code. Therefore, staff recommends that the staff hearing officer approve this medical cannabis dispensary permit, making the findings outlined in the staff report and subject to the conditions of approval listed in Exhibit A. In addition, we've received several letters, both in support and opposed to the project, which have been provided to you for your review. And the applicant is here, Ms. Joanna LaForce, and also her agent, Mark Miranda.
Okay, great, thank you. If you want to state your name and add anything else.
Turn your mics on.
Okay.
I wanted to do a little bit of presentation. May I do that now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
My name is Joanna LaForce. I've been a registered clinical pharmacist for 33 years. I came to Santa Barbara in 1992 and worked with Kindred Pharmacy Services as a clinical consultant. I have a board certification in geriatrics and worked through Kindred as a clinical consultant in nursing homes, assisted living facilities, developmentally disabled homes, special needs homes like Sarah House and Via Alomar, which are Alzheimer's residences. I also provided pain management consulting to the Santa Barbara VNA Hospice. I've seen the benefits of natural medicine for these patients, thus my passion for creating an integrative pharmacy for safe access to plant-based medicines, including medical cannabis. My design is based on openness because openness is education. I wish to take the political and economic importance out of cannabis, making it just one of the natural health modalities available to people who need it. I also wish to take the mystery out of traditional Chinese and other herbal medicines. We're committed to providing a full-spectrum global plant medicine pharmacy for the benefit of the health and wellness of our local community, and it works. I picked this particular location because of its accessibility. It was also one of the few areas that were zoned by the city for a medical cannabis dispensary. The pharmacy design is similar to a contemporary pharmacy floor plan. The front retail space is separate from the secure dispensing area. In this front area, we have over 300 plant-based medicines and organic products for all ages, and it's designed to encourage interaction between our professional staff and the patrons. It's warm, well-lighted, and environmentally sustainable furnishings, giving a feeling of healing and well-being just by entering the door. Nutritional herbal consults are available to our patrons, plus our herbalists are licensed acupuncturists that fill traditional Chinese medicine prescriptions for licensed acupuncturists, doctors of Oriental medicine, naturopathic physicians, and chiropractors. I'd like to go through how the patient enters the pharmacy. The front door is open to the retail non-cannabis area. To the immediate right is a reception retail counter where people are welcomed. If they're a medical cannabis patient, they're directed to the patient verification and information desk. If they are a new patient, they'll present their paperwork and go through a strict verification process, including providing their doctor's recommendation and or a state-issued medical marijuana ID card, a California driver's license, or a DMV California ID. We then verify that the physician is in good standing with the California Medical Board and contact that physician to verify that this patient is in fact his patient and that he or she has been issued a medical marijuana recommendation. The patient then signs a collective agreement which contains rules and regulations they must abide by. Once they're verified, they're given a ticket with any notations regarding discounts or complimentary medicine if they're part of one of our many compassionate care programs for residents. The security guard then allows them to pass through the lock gate into the dispensing area. When they're called to the counter, they're counseled by knowledgeable professionals and provide suggestions for the best medicine and route of administration for their particular symptoms. They are often then referred to our herbalist or a nutritionist for further counseling and recommendation of complementary therapies. The pharmacy self-imposes dispensing limits of 1 ounce dried cannabis or equivalent dosage for edibles or concentrated forms of cannabis, and they can only make 1 visit per day. We have a computer database that keeps track of the patient's visits as well as HIPAA-protected medical information. The patient then purchases medical cannabis in the dispensing area. It's placed in a bag and stapled shut with a sticker stating the responsible use, handling, and safeguards for the community. As far as community outreach and relations, we've contacted various community organizations, including Hospice, Pacific Pride, physicians and physician groups who are supportive of our endeavor and looking forward to working with us in our compassionate care programs. These programs include, to name a few, senior citizen discounts, armed services discount, disability discounts, and free medicine for AIDS hospice patients. We've conducted open houses and have received numerous letters of support from patients, healthcare professionals, and residents of Santa Barbara. We have also talked to almost all of the neighboring businesses and residents in a 300-foot radius, explaining our business design and mission statement to them, and have received positive reactions and comment. We have made many attempts to open dialogue with the Paseo Chapala homeowners. I'm submitting copies of all of our correspondence expressing our desire to address their concerns. I've also spearheaded the formation of a Santa Barbara Collective Alliance to establish accreditation protocols based on high standards of operations and community involvement education. To close, I would like to say that the pharmacy's efforts are about each and every patient and their well-being and promoting proper and safe use of medicines of any kind. The pharmacy brings a fresh face in the movement towards complementary and alternative medicine. It's a proven model of the future and now, and I hope that you give us a chance to prove ourselves in Santa Barbara. We do have adequate parking, and if you wish to address parking and security, I'd like to turn that over to Mark.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else to add, Mark?
The parking for Paseo Chapala comes off of De La Guerra Street, and there's a lot of 1-car and 2-car private garages, as well as a lot of open spaces in between. 20 of them were set aside for the commercial, and the pharmacy is required to have 5 of those. And the rest of them, the other 39, were provided for the residential use on site.
Now, the parking spaces, they're open and shared for all the commercial uses, or are the commercial tenants assigned particular spaces?
They're open for the use of all of them. There's no signage that says it's for particular individual uses.
Okay. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I put in to read, but I can do this from here. But good morning. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Can you state your name, actually?
Yes. My name is William Leahy. I am 63 years old, and with my wife, Susan, upon approval of all the plans and the build-out, we would be the managers that would be running the pharmacy at 741 Chapala. Before this, I owned and operated my own print shop in Los Angeles for 30 years. And at one point, I decided that I wanted to do more for the community than just doing printing. My wife also was a vice president in charge of due diligence for a national corporation. She too felt that she wanted to do something more for healthy living, and we could not find any other avenue that we thought would be more befitting to our goals and our needs. Also, besides managing the store, which we hope to do, I have been in contact with one of the tenants up above who has an extra unit. I asked about renting there, that if we were going to be working there, it would be nice to be right above the place. And so not only would we be concerned about the safety of the pharmacy, but living right upstairs, I also would be just as much concerned about the safety and concerns that the HOA has. I also would like to state that I have 2 sons and 5 grandchildren. I really would like to see my grandchildren as much as possible, and living above there and living above the pharmacy, I know that those 5 grandchildren would be just as safe and as secure as any place that I could possibly live or bring them to. And finally, I'd like to point out that the pharmacy will be bringing jobs here to Santa Barbara. Our goal, when running full steam, I estimate that we probably could bring 25 full-time jobs to the city, and that doesn't include the construction workers or the builders, or which would be local employees as well. But we hope to bring these jobs to the community as well as good health. And that was it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I'm going to open the public hearing, and I think I'll have Howie Danielson go first with the DVD. And we said what is a minute a person with a 15-minute warning. I have numerous public speakers, and so in order to get through the hearing, we have until noon.
You all ready? I'm Howie Samuelson. I live in Santa Barbara. As you might notice, I'm disabled. I'm legally blind. But I'm also a television director. I've never stopped doing that. I made a video. I'm actually making a documentary on the cannabis model, and I chose Santa Barbara as the ideal place to show rational approaches and sensibilities that I think are valuable in a subject that involves medicine. So I personally have experience in Santa Barbara with the dispensary system, and in making this documentary over the last few years, I've had a chance to visit several dispensaries and to see their operation and how they what their philosophy is and what their practices are. And I have to tell you, the pharmacy is the best model I've ever seen. They aren't just dispensing one thing that the patients require. They have a more holistic approach. So in this town, for me, it's not the easiest town to get around in, and maybe some of you know that pedestrian-wise, this can be very dangerous. So having a good location, centralized location, places that I frequent, downtown is one of the main ones, and a good access. I've been to the site on Chapala, and it is a good access for a disabled person. So I personally have a kind of a thing that the pharmacy is the model, that it should be more than just dispensing one item that has a lot of controversy in the world, but not in this state. And this is a much better approach. So what I'd like to do is not waste your time, but I made a rough cut of the pharmacy segment of what will be in our documentary, and it'll give you an idea of what their operation looks like, feels like, and a sense of how it fits into the neighborhood and fits into the plan. So if you just want to watch that, then I'm pretty much done. Unless you have any questions for me.
Patient is 104 years old. She has chronic nausea, and she eats a little cupcake, half cupcake, and it kills the nausea for her. We don't sell to anyone under 18 years old. But the average age of our patients is right around 48. People will come in looking for a dispensary, and they can't believe that we are one because we're very discreet. One of the things that people say when they come in the store, they don't feel like a criminal. And from working here, we're not looking for 18 or 19-year-old kid off the street. We want someone that has knowledge about health aids, the products that we sell, and we also want someone with a maturity level. In working with the herbalist, I was able to get off of hormone pills, and they make a formula for me so that I keep my estrogen up. So I'm getting off of pharmaceutical drugs that I had taken for years and years. We have people that come in and want cannabis, but while they're also here, they see the herbalist and nutritionist who can help them with the other parts of their life. Our herbalist will do a consultation and speak with the people and find out what is really missing and what is needed. This is where we do have our cannabis products as well as all of our other supplements also. It's all worked in together. We have a menu for our patients when they come up to the counter, pre-rolls and hashes, trichomes, and this is where we have our sprays and pills. Like I said before, some people don't want to smoke. Some of the patients, they come in and they said, you know, it's so hard for me to get up, and they need something at the beginning of their day, and we would suggest a sativa for them. And sometimes just a small amount will change their outlook on life. We have Anne-Marie, one of our licensed herbalist acupuncturists. She's making a Chinese formula for a patient, and you can watch her make the formula right in front and also on the screen right behind her. We give discounts to senior citizens and to veterans also. It's global medicine for local people. It's about being well.
Okay, thank you. The next speaker is Henry Lenny, followed by John Campanella.
You know, if I may, to put a face on something, that is my wife. So now you know the two of us.
Okay, great, thank you.
And before we start with this phone speaker, I'm going to have a timer on, and when you have about 15 seconds left, I will flash this. This means 15 seconds left. Please wrap it up. Thank you very much.
My name is Henry Lenny. I'm speaking on behalf of the pharmacy. Personally, I've been very disenchanted with conventional medicine. In fact, the last time I went into the hospital for a simple kidney transplant, I nearly did not come up. That has been the closest I've been to death. Seen a doctor 3 times in my entire life, grew up in Mexico, and everything that is being described and proposed here is exactly how I grew up. I'm going to turn 62 this month. I'm not on medication, but I do take a lot of herbs. I highly encourage you to support this project simply because of the fact is that we do need an alternative source of medicine in this community and everywhere else. Anyway, that's my presentation, and I hope you approve this project. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So John Campanella, followed by Jeff Rowland.
Good morning. My name is John Campanella. I am president of the Paseo Chapala Residential and Office Association. And I'm here today to say that the association requests that the application of the pharmacy be denied. As previously stated in our letter of July 16th, we strongly object to the pharmacy being located in the Paseo Chapala existing multi-use commercial and residential use building that was completed back in July 2007. There was no dispensary ordinance at the time, and if there were, residents would not have wanted this as a permitted use in the building. The denial is extremely important to the well-being of 29 families living at this location, and you've seen a number of letters to that effect. We believe that medical marijuana dispensary facilities are simply inappropriate in multi-use buildings for exactly the same reasons they are prohibited in residential zones and residential uses in the city. Parking, if you can look at the exhibit quickly, the actual number of spaces that are available for parking are 14. Incorrectly shown were 6 spaces that are reserved for office and residential. The garage is not secured. It has to be open for a variety of uses, including easements to a neighboring property owner to get his cars through, and the garage cannot be properly secured for dispensary use. Thank you.
Okay, Jeff Rowland, followed by Elena Kitson.
Good morning. Hi, I'm Jeff Rowland. I'm a concerned resident of the Paseo Chapala mixed-use commercial building. And I'm here today because I'm very concerned about their application. Although their current ordinance is being addressed by the Ordinance Review Committee now, the final version is they're not done with it. And there are a number of points in the ordinance that are still up for debate. And I think it would be a very bad idea at this point to approve another cannabis dispensary in the city while the ordinance is still basically being formed. Pertinent issues that are coming up right now, the ordinance as it relates to mixed-use commercial buildings is not clear, and that is, there was actually a proposal, I believe, yesterday from Grant House recommending that dispensaries be prohibited from locating in existing multi-use buildings, and that any new multi-use buildings be required to be notified and disclosed as a possibility that they would have a pharmacy. We didn't have that because we existed well before. As John mentioned, the parking in their application is not correct. Of the 14 spaces, a number of those are reserved already for existing commercial tenants, so I believe there's only 4 or 5 spaces, maybe 7 available. And more than anything, we did not move into a high security building. We moved into a nice building. We don't want to live in a building where there's security guards patrolling. We don't want to live in a building where there's security cameras. It's just unreasonable, and you're going to be affecting our personal well-being. We live there. You know, we don't get to go home at the end of the workday and leave the pharmacy. We get to live with it 24 hours a day. Thank you.
Okay, Elena Kitson, followed by William Lehey. Oh, that's you, okay.
Hi, my name is Elena Kitson. I'm also a resident and a property owner at Paseo Chapala. Many of the other items have already been mentioned by the 2 previous speakers, but the Paseo Chapala has had resident occupants in it since August of 2007. The CC&Rs and restrictions for the building were written well before there was ever a city ordinance allowing dispensaries. We were not able to consider the possibility of this type of business being located below us before investing in a home, or to legally restrict this type of nuisance business from being in the building. There are multiple other reasons why this type of business is not appropriate for Paseo Chapala. Based on the application required by the city for the operation of a marijuana dispensary, I can see that the heightened security requirements, the parking requirements, and the illegality under federal law make this an inappropriate business for the building where I and 28 other families live. The city is choosing to treat this building as if the commercial level is completely separated from the residential level. We share common space and access. So, although I'm not generally opposed to the existence of medical marijuana dispensaries, I am firmly against the operation of a dispensary a few feet below my living room. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Jason
McLeod.
Is that what it is? McLeod? Followed by Farid Nazi.
Hi there. I'm Jason McLeod. I'm 37. I'm a patient, and I'm currently employed by the pharmacy. The pharmacy has shown me both, compassion and basically a good asset to the community. Not only to me, but they do reach out to, like the video said, like senior citizens, hospice, local AIDS patients, and stuff like that. But not only did they give me employment there, they actually given me back my self-worth. Because before this, I was on SSI, really just sitting there, really not really doing that much with my life, actually, because I was in so much pain. And like I said, now by me being employed here, it's giving me back my self-worth, my self-confidence, basically giving me myself the way I was before I got sick. And I'm just hoping that it can help with somebody around here, that they don't feel like they're doing so much for their community. And now I do feel like I can give back to my community. I guess that's my time, right? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Fareed, followed by Brad Holiday.
Excuse me, Mr. Fareed Aziz had to leave for just a moment and asked if I could change places with him. My name is Saul Levitt.
Sure.
I'm speaking in support of the pharmacy. It's clearly a well thought out, very elegant operation. I think it'll have a minimal negative impact, if any at all, on the surrounding community and the businesses there. They're going to offer a great service to the community. It seems to be very professionally run, and it makes sense to me that the places that operate best and give the best service are the ones that should be approved, and I think this is a great example of it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Brad Holiday, am I close? Close enough. F-R-O-H, and then I don't know the last three letters or four letters.
Thanks. My name is Brad Froling, and I've worked with the property owner. And just a couple of things. On the parking, the use when the building was approved around 2005, 2006 meets the retail use of the pharmacy, so it's shared and open parking. And I guess my point today isn't speaking to the business or the use of the business, but rather they have met state and local requirements and the current ordinance, and that as a city we should respect a quality operator, respecting the guidelines set out for them, and approve it on that basis. And the concern regarding a mixed use, given that they've demonstrated themselves to be such a quality and sensitive operator, if the space was immediately next door versus downstairs, it's still downtown in a higher density area. I'm not sure the difference that would make, and so I see and understand the arguments of the tenants and the occupants, but the building was designed for that mixed use, and they're a good quality operator. And that's it.
Great, thank you. Thomas Luria, followed by Forrest Buchanan.
Hi, my name is Thomas Luria. A couple quick points. I developed and own a mixed-use project directly around the corner from this building at 121 West Alighiera. We got our approval from the city right soon after Vermont Development received their approval from them. At that time, the city very much encouraged downtown housing. Both projects were very warmly embraced. In addition to the market rate housing, both of us built a significant number of affordable units. So I think the first point I want to make is that while I recognize the zoning is C2, to hang your hat on the commercial zoning is a little bit incorrect. They're really residential projects with a little bit of commercial. So I think that's sort of splitting hairs there. The second point is that I know in our case, and I'm sure it was the same case in Paseo Nuevo, that all of the potential buyers would request what would be the potential uses for commercial downstairs. They had a legitimate right to know what that would be because they'd be living above commercial. I can guarantee you in no event was there a medical marijuana dispensary on that list. It's not to speak to the merits of this operation. I'm sure this lady has told you everything that's the truth. She wants a quality operation. It's a question of where it's located, and I think the residents in this building have a certain expectation of what is going to be below them. So I think it would be unconscionable, I think, of you to approve this today in light of what's going on with the Ordinance Committee. At the very least, I think you need to wait to see how that falls out. Thank you.
Forrest Buchanan, followed by Ray Mahoob.
I don't think Forrest is here. I'm Ray Mahoob, and I'm the property landlord at Paseo Chapala. And I strongly support Joanna and the pharmacy because of the way it's run and the fact that it's not just cannabis that the pharmacy's selling. It's 300 other herbs and natural Chinese herbs that they offer, and that's really the selling point here, because I don't know of any other dispensary that's permitted that offers that kind of variety of medicine. And as far as the opposition and a lot of the owners in Paseo Chapala having the concerns about the tenant, I think it's just a misconception. It's misguided. I think they really are in the wrong direction as far as thinking what they want to do. It's going to be a first-class operation, and they'll do a fine job. Thank you.
Sean Camery, followed by Erica Mahoob.
My name is Hans Edwards.
No, Sean Camery, I said.
I'm sorry.
But, sure. Sorry,
Good
I'll
morning.
speak louder.
Good morning. My name is Erica Mahbub, and I'm an MD PhD from UCLA. I'm a strong advocate of integrative medicine, and I strongly support the pharmacy not only because it also provides with many other alternative herbs and therapies, but because it's also a very well-run business. I've actually studied Chinese medicine, homeopathic therapies, and other, therapies that could actually bring out patients to a better life. And I believe the pharmacy really, can become part of this new trend of alternative care. And due to the fact that, we can actually buy many different other herbs, and they're a very good quality suppliers. And I, in myself, have very good confidence that they will be, a good tenant, and they will bring a lot of good things to the community. Thank you.
James Lee, followed by Farhid. Is he here now?
James had to step out for a sec, so I'm going to switch places with him. I'm Nathaniel Reinke. My name's Nathaniel Reinke. I'm an owner of the permitted dispensary located at 500 North Milpas. I'm here today to voice my support for the current applicant. The applicant meets all current requirements of the ordinance and would be an excellent addition to the city. The pharmacy has run its 2 current dispensaries quite well. I think that they would be a good partner in our effort to establish a network of responsible, community-oriented medical cannabis dispensaries within the city. Thank you.
Thanks. Bud Andrews, followed by Matt LeBray.
Hi, good morning. I'm Bud Andrews. I'm representing the Santa Barbara schools. First, I wanted to offer my congratulations to Ms. LaForce. I think her plan is impressive. My concern, our concern for the schools is not the nature of her business, but the location of it. We're finding that students hang out in that area, along with others, along with Nathan's business over on Milpas. And I think that the nature of the ordinance committee now reviewing it, it probably makes it prudent that you consider holding off on a decision until other decisions are made by the council. Thank you.
Matt LeBray. Right.
Good morning. I'm Matt LeBrie. I represent the Commercial Association as well as manage the commercial property, and I'm speaking in support of the pharmacy. I'd just like to real quickly point out that that many of the concerns are based on an old stereotype, and that this operation will clearly abolish that stereotype. And I think everybody's hope for this space is that it will be an excellent operation, a beautiful facility with wonderful patrons. That's what we're going to have. Thank you.
Vladimir Cooperman, followed by Gail McAdams.
I'm Vladimir Cooperman. I'm an owner of a unit at Paseo Chapala. Basically, this is a proposal to put a dispensary in the front yard of 29 residences. That's how we see that. And the problem here is not the distribution of marijuana. That's legal, it helps people, it should be encouraged. The problem is the misuse. This may be considered anecdotal evidence, but I know that in Summerland there is a dispensary, it's a pure commercial area. There are problems with people who don't have patience to get to their home, and they start using it in the garage. We have people trying to raise families there. Children will come face to face with the users. That should be denied.
Thank you. Gail McAdams, followed by Hans Edwards.
Yes, I'm an owner of one of the units in there, and I think my main problem with it is that we weren't allowed, when we first reviewed the CCNRs, that wasn't something that was being proposed then, a medical marijuana business. And we weren't allowed, for instance, we didn't want tattoos in the building, parlors, we didn't want drinking where children weren't permitted under the age of 18, and we are all residents. We all have residents there, and I don't feel that we're given the opportunity originally, because this type of business didn't exist as far as we knew, to put our vote not permitted in the CCNRs. Thanks.
Hans Edward, followed by Kenneth Belay.
Yes, my name is Hans Edwards, and I represent the recently established Santa Barbara Collective Alliance, SBCA. The SBCA welcomes as members legal dispensary operators, developers, and applicants involved in the legal process, and also welcomes other interested parties, including attorneys, doctors, property owners, and authorities who may have an interest in participating in this group. Several meetings have already taken place to discuss the group's objectives. These meetings have been productive, and we are looking forward to continuing working with those that have shown an interest, in particular Joanne LaForce of the pharmacy, who has been very active and has done much to make this happen. Our intent is to work together to develop a system of self-regulation and open lines of communication among participants to help ensure compliance with the Santa Barbara City Ordinance. Our common goal is to demonstrate to the Santa Barbara community that it is possible to work together, assisting the member dispensaries to regulate themselves, as well as to interact with the public to address any issues that may arise from time to time. Thank you.
Thank you. Kenneth Belay.
I'm Kenneth Belay, representing the association. Excuse me. In adopting the ordinance, the council made it very clear that it did not want to have the dispensaries located on parcels zoned R-O or zoned for residential use. Now, technically, of course, a C2 zone is zoned for residential use because it includes the CP zone uses, which include R0 and R4. What happened? Obviously, the council did not think about a mixed-use building of the sort that the Paseo Chapala represents. One of the findings that you have to make, Ms. Reardon, is under 28.80.090B10, namely that the dispensary would not adversely affect the health, peace, or safety of persons living or working in the surrounding area or overly burden a specific neighborhood. Given that the council has made it clear that residential uses which may exist are enough to prohibit dispensaries, it seems to me to follow that where they already exist, as in this building, the conditions preceding have not been satisfied and the permit should be denied. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I skipped over, there was 4 people that weren't present when I called their name. I'll call them now, and if you are here, come up to the podium. Farid Nazi. No? James Lee.
My name is James Lee. I'm here to speak in support of the applicant. I believe the permit should be judged on based on the merits of the application. And as far as I know, the applicant has met all the requirements of the ordinance. And also we've been seeing dispensaries have been around in one form or another since 1996, the Compassionate Use Act. And we're seeing an evolution of the dispensary model, operational model. And it would be better to see more responsible dispensary owners in Santa Barbara as we phase out the illegal and nonconformings. Thank you.
Is Forrest Buchanan here now? Sean Camery? No? Okay. I'll close the public record. Close the public hearing. Yes.
My name is Jeff Spangler. I was on the list before, and I'm still possible to speak.
Yeah, but I thought you consented your time to...
Well, is it...
Go ahead. Yes, come on. Go ahead.
And I'm here to speak in favor of the pharmacy again. I work with Howie Samuelson here. We've been producing a video on medical marijuana for a couple of years now, and so I've been the eyes of that partnership. And so I've seen many dispensaries here in Santa Barbara. I've seen that evolve. I've also seen many of them in the Los Angeles area and talked to a lot of the people in the dispensary community in interviewing them and so forth. And the pharmacy has become a model for that whole industry to bring itself up by the bootstraps, and it's a very good thing. The word pharmacy has actually become generic for dispensary. You know, a lot of times in common use, people say, well, I'm going to the pharmacy. And I say, which one? And they'll say something, well, that's not the pharmacy. Well, they mean a dispensary. So, and people that are deciding to open up a place often refer to, I will make a model like the pharmacy. So to deny them is to deny the effort of the community to actually meet a goal. And that's a high standard that the pharmacy has already achieved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak who has not previously spoke on the item? No? See no one, I'll close the public hearing. Someone should talk.
Sean Conley was here.
I don't think he's on there. Like Ms. Brodesson said at the beginning, there has been a number of letters submitted on this application. Approximately 134 in support and approximately 16 from the start date of the meeting, and I think there were several others submitted since then. I went out to the site yesterday or Monday and walked around and had some questions regarding the proposed use and your operation plan. So I'll just ask them, and if you can go over. I didn't receive a elevation with my packet. Okay, hold on to those. So there's some existing doors along the Chapala Street frontage, and I know on your site plan you indicate the main entry and exit over near the retail portion of it. What's actually going to be occurring with these other doors? Are the doors going to be removed? Are they proposed to be locked? How, in the future, the probability of these becoming access points?
I'll have Mark address that, please.
The doors along the frontage will just remain locked. They won't be opened or used. The two here are required for egress and ingress for the commercial use. So everybody will be entering through the old produce doors that were on Hazard's building. Mm-hmm. And then there's also a man door here. So those are the two required, and all the rest will remain locked.
Okay. Then in regards to access, since the parking is in the rear of the property, how will customers access the site? Is there internal access, or do they all have to walk on the...
Everybody has to come around the normal path of travel. For the building was designed with two ways out. Let's see. Here's the garage entrance. So you come in, and this is what the archive shows, the original Paseo Chapala. There are 11 commercial condominiums. 9 of them are the retail along the bottom floor, and then 2 of them are residential offices upstairs, as stated by one of the owners. And there was 20 spaces. The ones for the residential were 4, so the 16 that are available for the commercial. The pharmacy has 5 of those because they're like 2,300 square feet. They're in the central business district at 1 per 500. So they have 5 legal spaces, whereas ESOS and Silver Green share the other spaces according to their square footages. So there's a hallway
you walk through here that takes you out to De La Guerra Street and around, which meets ADA, and there's also an access off the corner here that goes down the side of the building and around. And so this rear hallway that you see, the 4 commercial spaces, these doors are locked. These are the 2 doors that are open. There is a hallway out the back that goes into the garage, but the pharmacy is proposing to lock that door. This is a 4-hour fire-rated hallway that's required by code for Silver Greens and ESOS. And there's a hallway that comes right down to here, and then it hits a ramp, and then it, since the street's sloping down, this is all handicap ramped in the back. This door is going to be for people to access the bathroom, which the keys will be held by the pharmacy management, and this will remain locked, and all products and everything will enter the front door.
So a patron would just get the key and then go to the restroom?
Yeah, he could be escorted by the security guard. They have 2 guards. This guy stays here at the dispensary entrance all the time, administering people in and out, whereas this guard here at the front door is the one who does the patrols. He patrols the property within 200 feet, and he could allow access in and out the door to the bathroom as well.
Now, there's not any security cameras proposed in the garage area?
We had them on the original first DART review, but then we removed them because the Homeowners Association said that they didn't want them. And we're proposing them if the homeowners would allow it. We'd be happy to provide cameras in the garage and more on the exterior of the building, depending on HLC. And we have Protect Systems, which is a security company who can install little tiny cameras that you can't see. There's many different types that they can use, whether in exit signs or smoke detectors or just on the facade itself. And given that this is all open underneath in the garage with all the HVAC systems and mechanical systems and drop lighting and whatnot, it would be pretty simple, but that just depends on the Homeowners Association. And if not, then the roving security guard would check it in on a regular interval.
And what do you propose that interval to be?
Well, I think in your existing stores it's every hour, and that would just it would be subject to the conditions that you impose upon it.
Now, what's the police department say in regards to security, since the facility itself, the ordinance specifies it needs to be visible from the public street, and the windows not obstructed. Being this is an enclosed garage, it's not easily visible from the street.
Correct.
The pharmacy, the dispensary area must be visible from the street. The reasoning for this, the theory behind that, is so that anyone entering the dispensary would be able to see into the dispensary before entering. So the parking, as he stated, you'd have to walk around through the front to get in, and while doing so, you'd be able to see into the dispensary.
Yeah, but if a security guard's only walking around once every hour, and this area itself is not required to be seen from the public right away, but it is a hidden area that some of the letters that have been submitted talks about existing problems that have gone on in the garage, how to not make it worse, or how. That's what my comment was regarding the security cameras. Did the police department look at it, and what did they feel?
In speaking with Captain Armando Martel, he would recommend cameras in the parking garage.
But he's okay with the fact that they're not, or that would be...
He didn't require them. In looking at the dispensary, he felt that it complied with the ordinance.
Okay.
He would like to see cameras in the garage.
Mr. Reardon, he sent an email recently that stated that he would like to see the cameras in the garage if they were allowed by the homeowners. That was his comment.
Mr. Reardon, just to add, Danny Cotto, Senior Planner, the intent of that requirement is that the police department or police officers, as they drive or walk by or ride their bikes by, they can look into the dispensary. There is no requirement that the parking area be visible from the street or anything like that. Only the dispensary itself.
I realize that, but from a security perspective, if someone's carrying their product to the back and it's all enclosed and you can't see it, and versus an open parking lot where you can easily see it from different areas, would this type of thing attract crime or not? That was where...
Right, and the cameras are recommended.
Okay.
Mrs. Reardon, I'd like to ask, Mark said, we'd be happy to provide security cameras provided that we're not caught in a catch-22. If it's made a condition, then the HOA will not allow it. Will that be something that will adversely affect our ability to be there?
Okay. Right, and then with the ordinance, it talks about, has a number of operating limitations, requirements, operating requirements for dispensaries. And that's where I was getting into the door, asking about the door along the front, how is it going to be removed or that, because it's a secure entrance. And then also regarding the restrooms, how those worked, and you answered that. Another one is consumption restrictions, and it flat out states cannabis shall not be consumed by patients on the premises of the dispensary, and that includes all areas within the building, the parking lot, within 200 feet. And your floor plan indicates that there's some fast food elements, if you say, they're prepackaged and ready in a ready to consume state. There's also some tables and chairs proposed for this area. How are you going to ensure that it's not going to be consumed, it's not going to violate the ordinance?
The original intent of the tables was not for consumption of food, and we'd like to remove those, plan to remove those from the plan.
Okay. And then what about the other part?
The edibles, the ingestible goods that we offer are sealed and packaged. I brought you a sample of that. This is an example of one of the products that we offer. They're in a vacuum sealed package. When people purchase their products, we also, after they're procured, we also put their medication into another bag, a prescription bag. It's stapled shut. Actually, this is a sticker that covers it, so you're not able to open the bag. On that too, the medical cannabis patients are versed a number of times about the rules and regulations of not consumption, not medicating in your car. And those are reiterated on the label with the bag.
Now, what about like drinks?
Same thing. They go in a bag. Any frozen items go into a refrigerated bag with the same seal and label.
Mr. Reardon, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
About so one of the items that you're proposing to sell, I think, is gelato, right? Mm-hmm. And when we think of gelato, I think we think of, you get it in a cone and then you have to eat it right then. But it sounds like that's not the case?
No, because make it very clear that people, if they're using their medication, like they would go into a regular pharmacy, they don't stop and take their medicine right there, that they do it in the privacy of their home or the facility that they're in. So gelato or foods like that are in a refrigerated bag and also stapled and secured shut.
So it's more like buying a pint of
right. It's prepackaged. It's not a cone or given that way to be eaten right away. It's in a sealed package as well.
And then the drinks, how do you put it in a bag without them spilling? How?
They're a sealed bottle.
Oh, like a Coke bottle?
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I was thinking like
Yeah.
Starbucks.
No, no, it's a enclosed, sealed bottle.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Reardon, can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
The ordinance requires that minors are not allowed into the dispensary. And how do you propose to enforce that rule? You have kind of a floor plan that we haven't seen yet. This
Right.
is more open than anything we've seen so far.
Right. The dispensing area, once again, this is the block-off point right here at the reception area. So with this reception area and kind of a welcome area, and with our staff and our guard there, that we welcome people, but then question them, may we help you if you're a medical cannabis patient, then you can go in. But no minors are allowed past this area.
But they are allowed in the main retail area.
Yes.
Thanks.
And they're also, this is a locked gate, so we also monitor them to make sure that they're not allowed in the dispensing area at all.
This here is this is the main screening area where they check your ID and your recommendation, and then the security guard would be the one right after they get checked in to allow them in and out. And this is an initial reception for people coming in the door to find out what their needs are and what they want and direct them to where they need to be.
Now, you had mentioned acupuncture in your presentation. You're not actually going to be performing acupuncture,
No,
are you?
no.
That's just-
Our staff are acupuncture, licensed acupuncturists that we have. They're also, their specialty is also in Chinese herbs.
Okay.
So that would be a referral for them.
That, Mr. Kato, you brought up a question also that I had regarding council's vision at the time of when they adopted the ordinance. I agree with the public testimony that occurs today regarding, the city is in a process of change. The council adopted this ordinance almost a year ago. And at that time, the situation was different. They looked at residential uses. They looked at the different separations from different uses, such as the schools, which they put in there, different dispensaries, that sorts of things. And they had discussion regarding separation from residential uses versus separation from residential zones. And they came down on allowing it within the C2 zone, and I understand that residences are allowed in the C2 zone, but that doesn't make it prohibited in this area, because there's also a map. I don't know if you guys brought the map where the uses are allowed, which do you have the color one? The black and white one's not good. Yeah. Which further, I think further illustrates their intent to allow it in the C2 zone, recognizing that residential uses can occur in that zone, and those are the red areas here. However, I also think when they discussed dispensaries, this wasn't really what they had envisioned, and I'd actually like Mr. Kato to, because you worked on the original ordinance and you're in charge of the proposed amendments. In the discussions, what did the council say regarding this type of use? Because I can see the benefits of having it more open, so it's not doesn't look so much like a backroom deal. It's all out in the open. It's providing other types of natural medicines. But what did council? Did they have any discussions regarding this, or what?
Mr. Reardon, I can say that during the original hearings for the adoption of this ordinance, this was not envisioned. You know, what we envision is what we've seen in the last few, where you have a kind of a entry area where you get screened and you can't get past that. And then once you're determined to be bona fide, then you're let into the dispensing area, and that's where the dispensing could be, and the other herbs and such. It wasn't envisioned for this, because there aren't. I mean, I guess this model is not very. It's pretty new, from what I understand. You know, most of the dispensaries have that same sort of reception area where you can't go any farther. In fact, I think one of the pharmacy's dispensaries, the one in West Hollywood, is like that, where you walk in and you can't get in. It's not set up like this. You walk in and you're met by the receptionist people, and you can't go any farther unless you have a recommendation. That being said, it doesn't. The ordinance doesn't say that it has to be that way. It sets up some parameters whereby they have to operate, and as you know, we've recommended approval because we think that even though this isn't exactly what was envisioned by the city council at the time, it still meets the intent.
And then can you also discuss city councils, and I think it even came up at the planning commission, the whole residence, the residents being located adjacent to this, that the 500 foot separation, and then also the other thing is regarding kids congregating, because we had the same issue come up on the Milpas Street corridor, and my recollection was council, when they looked at the Mission Street corridor, you know, they plotted the junior high and the high school and allowed other areas, and recognized that high schoolers are going to walk by. What discussion, what was their thoughts then?
Well, okay, we'll go with the residential first. One of the public speakers interprets a section of the locational requirements to say that they're not allowed in any zone that allows residential, and that is clearly not the intent. The intent is for that to be residential zones, which would be A1, A2, E1, E2, E3, R1 through R4. And some in public comment or letters have contended that that was a mistake, and that's absolutely not true. You know, when we first went to the ordinance committee and to council, we had a restriction of not within 500 feet of residential zones and not on the same lot as in mixed-use buildings, you know, not the same lot that contain residential, and those were taken out of the ordinance specifically. So I can say that's deliberate, and we heard the same thing yesterday at the ordinance committee. Steve Wiley, the city attorney, said the same thing. Basically, if we interpreted that phrase the way that the public speaker had interpreted it, that would basically not allow dispensaries any place in the city, because just about every zone in the city allows residential except the M1, and these aren't allowed in the M1 zone. So that's clearly not the intent.
Well, and it looks like, based on this map, where the red hatched areas say that's where dispensaries are allowed, and they're all commercial zones that allow residential uses.
C2 and CM zones, yes.
Which both of those allow residential uses.
Correct. Like I said, it was intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they might be changing their mind, because yesterday at Ordinance Committee, there seemed to be, although there was no formal recommendation made to council, there seemed to be a consensus that the Ordinance Committee didn't necessarily want to see them in existing mixed-use buildings, for precisely the reason that some of the public speakers have said. You know, I guess for a lot of mixed-use buildings, the way that CCNRs work, the CCNRs will restrict certain types of uses, right? Adult entertainment or bars or any number of things, right? Head shops, that sort of thing. And because medical marijuana dispensaries weren't envisioned at the time, they weren't put into the CCNRs. And at least I think there was consensus on this, that perhaps they should not be allowed in existing mixed-use buildings, but okay in future mixed buildings as long as there was advisories to potential residents. So that's what happened at the ordinance committee yesterday. I spoke to the city attorney this morning precisely because this stuff is going on, and he said that his direction to you is that your duty is to review the application under the current ordinance. What's happening at the ordinance committee at council is still discussions. There's no adopted ordinance, and until the effective date of the ordinance, these dispensaries have to be reviewed and considered to be in compliance with the existing ordinance.
And council has the ability to have it to be retroactive, right?
Correct. There's any number of ways that this potential dispensary, if approved, could be affected by what's going on and what eventually gets adopted by the council.
And then in terms of the kids, the congregation of the children.
Okay, so back when the ordinance was being adopted, we actually used the adult entertainment ordinance as a model, and that had a 500-foot radius around a number of different uses. And when we went through this process, we reduced the number of types of uses that had the radius drawn around it. But there was never really much, well, no, this isn't true. I was about to say there wasn't a whole lot of discussion about kids congregating and stuff like that, right? There was and still is a desire to protect the youth from inappropriate use of medical marijuana. But the idea, but there was, how do I say this? It would be difficult to, and I don't think even necessarily rational to say, well, any place that kids congregate, you can't have a dispensary within a certain distance of that, because that could mean any fast food place or any store or any mall, or essentially that could ban it from the whole city, because any what's a gathering and when can that happen, and that could change all the time. So there was a little bit of discussion about it, and they settled on the 500 feet from schools and parks as the appropriate distance. And again, that might change too. The ordinance committee is starting to look at locations in the city to change the way, or change the way we look at where dispensaries can be allowed. Right now, we say this big area with radii drawn around various uses, and they're starting to look at a different model where they say, hey, dispensary will be allowed in these particular locations around the city. So it could change. Again, we're not very far into that discussion.
Thanks. Another question I have actually is, you have merchandising in front of this window. What types, is that more herb stuff, or what is envisioned in?
It would probably be cannabis-related items, just because this is the dispensing area. We would probably have hemp items as well, different like lotions and hemp-related products, and maybe some similar products to here. But you would not be able. Only cannabis products would be purchased here. Or those, but this is just strictly cannabis.
Well,
I don't think we would have,
cannabis in the window.
None in the window, and we would have no paraphernalia for cannabis or anything in the store at all. What I think in the windows, it would be a display that would be conducive to herbal medicine and more slanted towards what this side of the thing is, but certainly there would never be anything that could be broken through a window and grabbed or anything of that nature. It would just be something that would remind them of health. It could be booklets, it could be It could be any number of things that would relate to that side of the building.
Okay. I have read the operation plan in detail. I think it's a good operational plan. What I'm stuck, or not really stuck on, but the reality of the situation is that what I'm charged with doing is reviewing this application under the existing rules. And I realize that the existing ordinance has been referred to the ordinance committee for refinement. Now that we've had some of these applications come through the process, however, there's only one open and operating, we've gained some experience. We've heard a lot of testimony from the public, and so the ordinance committee is now grappling with these issues that have been brought up by both staff and the community. However, there's been no formal recommendation made. There's been some suggestions and some discussions trying to move through the different items. So what I need to review the project on is on the existing ordinance. And also the City Council hasn't adopted a moratorium. There's also been discussion out in the community about a moratorium. And the ordinance committee is fully aware of these pending applications that are coming before the staff hearing officer and that staff's reviewing. We have this one, we have another one scheduled next month, and there's some more in the pipeline. So they know that these applications are out here, so I don't think it's necessary for me to continue this item so that these issues can be worked at the ordinance committee. I have an ordinance, I have procedures that we follow. And then in regards to the residential use, I think that the council was clear in the past that if an application or an applicant were to abide by all the operation requirements and the criteria in the ordinance, that they felt it could coexist nicely with the neighborhood. And so they set out a number of operating requirements and conditions, and the ones that I had concerns with regarding this project and the ordinance, we discussed regarding the entrance being controlled, the restrooms being controlled. The consumption I still have some concerns with, just in that they're in a ready-to-consume state. I think it's a great idea with all the other herbal medicines, if that's what you can call them. I think that's a great idea to have them in conjunction in the same building. The concern I have is just, is this what was envisioned at the time that the ordinance was adopted? But like Mr. Kato said, this is a new way of providing the medical marijuana. But I really do think that there needs to be some kind of security system in the garage. I have concerns just regarding the safety of people, of patrons leaving the site with their product. And I have watched the ordinance committee meetings, and I've heard Captain Armando talk about some instances when, not many, but when people have left the dispensary and been, jumped for their medicine. And if the residents here are already stating that there is existing problems in their garage, is this going to cause more problems for them? But I also understand you need the homeowners authority or homeowners association's approval to put the security cameras in there. So it's a catch-22. I think that the security cameras in the garage would help with the existing situation too. It'd be in their benefit. So what's to do? Like I said, I think the operation, reading your plan, reading the security part of it, the cameras, the 2 security guards, the fact that one of them is going to patrol the area every hour, is a benefit. But I just think without that other camera in the garage, it would be the criteria 9, that all reasonable measures have been incorporated into the security plan are consistently taken to successfully control the establishment's patrons' conduct resulting in disturbance, vandalism, crowd control. That's the one that I'm having problems with. In that, just like I voiced it. So I think I couldn't support the project without the additional surveillance in the garage unless the police department really felt it wasn't necessary. So I guess that would be what it would be. You're open to the camera, so I'd be approving the application, but with the condition that the additional surveillance camera be, actually the police department, did you say they're recommending 2? One for the...
He just said surveillance cameras, so he would probably have to look at what they submitted. What he would probably do is look at a submittal, what their idea is, and then determine if he felt that was sufficient.
Yeah, this says surveillance cameras for the garage and at the access points between the garage and the business. So that would be, I would say, where the access points are. So you're coming out here, so, and then in this area. So that would be my action, that I would approve your project, but subject to the condition that these additional cameras be placed on the site per the recommendations of the police department. And then also, as Ms. Brodesson pointed out, that that interior wall is going to be 6 feet. I thought I read in here, it said 5 feet.
Right.
And then also with the removal of those tables and chairs, just to prevent the congregating of people in the area. And, like I said, it's a hard situation in that I'm reviewing it under the existing rules. And I understand there's all this discussion out in the community, and that these rules may be changing, and they may be changing and then making this business non-conforming, and that it would have to be relocated or made to conform. And so with the set of rules that I have now regarding the separations, the location requirements, in terms of the C2 zone and the areas are allowed, I think this application fits in with that. So I'll be approving the project with... Yes.
Would you like to add anything regarding the food products or anything more specific in the conditions regarding that they specifically not be ready to consume? I know the ordinance states that any drinks or beverages or pastries and such would not be able to be consumed on site. It doesn't specifically say or specify in a not ready to consume state, so I didn't know if you wanted to add something towards that effect.
Well, I couldn't put not in a not ready to consume state because they are, but they're just sealed. So in a sealed...
They're not immediately ready by any means. It's really the same as far as the cannabis, the dried leaf. It could be consumable too. So that's why we do the prevention and the education to them about that.
Just for a comfort, well, I don't know.
Yeah, they're vacuum packed and then they're set into the bag that's covered with
Right,
the
but
label.
I mean, I'm just thinking as an added, I don't know if you wanted to do that.
I'm fine with clarifying that in the conditions that the, how did you word it? That the edibles, consumables, I guess it'd be consumables, be in a what's vacuum packed sealed container?
Sealed and
With
double
no-
secured with a carry out package, basically.
With the note on there, that note that specifically states, right?
It gives the ordinances.
And part of the agreement that they signed when they originally sign up, it talks about transportation, use
We
on
have that one.
site.
Yeah, with the sign, this would need to be expanded to include that they're not to consume the product on the premises or within 200 feet of the premises.
I have a question regarding the condition about the garage. Is it possible to put in the condition that what is amenable to the homeowners association and the pharmacy in regards to whether it's like a security guard or if it's cameras or whatever the solution's going to be?
I would like the security camera. In addition to the security guard walking around.
Yeah, but like a full-time security guard. In the
Oh, standing back there? Sure, because it would be the same effect. Someone would be back there. I was thinking in terms of the camera that it would be 24-hour surveillance. Although someone wouldn't be occupying the building, there would be surveillance there 24 hours a day. So if something were to occur at night, they could review the tapes.
Correct.
But like I said, we'd be definitely amenable to that. I think it would be helpful to the homeowners as well, so they're having problems already. It's just that approval has to be by them. So if they say no, does that mean we're not accepted? That's what I'm concerned about.
And I am concerned about the safety and the security plan. So I in my opinion, to meet the letter of the ordinance, you do need the surveillance cameras in there, or I'd be open to a guard there, posted there continuously for the hours of the business.
And the dispensary will be also as a condition closed at 7 p.m.
Yeah, and it's 10 to 7 the hours. So,
Mr. Reardon, can I ask for a little bit of clarification on the revised condition? If the pharmacy, who has authorization? I mean, who gets to decide? Do the homeowners association and the pharmacy have to agree on one or the other or both, or not? For example, if the homeowners association were to say, no, we don't want the surveillance camera and we don't want the security guard, then that kind of leaves the homeowners association with the final say. How do you want? Is that your intention?
I think the police department should have the final say.
Yeah,
So a physical improvement would need the approval of the homeowners association, right?
Right.
Would posting a security guard need the approval of the homeowners association?
Not that I'm aware of.
That's difficult, probably more legalistic in that, it's not clearly delineated what is the commercial area, like the rear hallway and the path leading to it, in the CCNR. So also, I guess, so we'll be taking it to Armando to make a call to, because in his email he had spoke to whether they allow it. He's okay with it. He would like it, but if it wasn't approved by the homeowners, then he seemed to like oh, it doesn't matter. But that was in an email that he sent, so I didn't know exactly what he was thinking at the time.
And I'm taking his recommendation into consideration.
Okay.
And as the staff hearing officer, I think a security camera is necessary there to be able to be in conformance with the ordinance. and I'm willing to accept a security guard there at all times during the hours of operation of the pharmacy.
Okay.
Mr. Reardon, then could I suggest some language?
Sure.
I think it should say something to the fact that you require the security camera system in the garage or a full-time guard. That's there for probably an hour before, an hour after opening and closing, and whichever is approval by the police department.
Yeah, and the location.
And the location of the cameras,
Cameras.
to be determined by the police department.
Yes.
No, if I might, that's fine. Nothing. I was going to say that, but I'll pass on that.
And Mr. Reardon, actually, one more thing, slightly different subject. When the dispensary at 631 Olive Street got approved by Planning Commission on appeal, the neighbors of that dispensary had some of the same concerns as the neighbors of this dispensary, and the Planning Commission did put on a condition that the pharmacy or the dispensary meet with the homeowners quarterly, and to address any concerns, and then report back to the Planning Commission at 6 and 9 months after the opening, 6 and 12 months after the opening. That's a possibility for this as well.
I think that's a good idea to add that condition.
We can take that up to 631 Olive approval.
Anything else to add?
Yeah, that's all.
Okay, so with that, I approve the dispensary with those added conditions regarding the security camera, the dividing wall, the tables, and the meeting and report back to staff.
And the edible packaging. The edible packaging. I mean, that's not what I meant. The packaging for the edibles.
Sealed packaging for the edibles.
Okay, so with that, with those revised conditions or added conditions, I approve your project, and it is appealable within 10 calendar days to the Planning Commission. And they also have oversight authority of all actions taken here. And during that same 10-day appeal period, they can decide that this warrants additional discussion before them and call it up. And if that was to occur, Ms. Broadison would contact you. I would like to note that the appeal for the staff hearing officer's decisions is actually filed here at 630 Garden Street versus City Hall, the clerk's office. All the other appeals for the other various boards and commissions are filed over there. So if you were to file appeal, to save you time, just come here to our planning counter and apply for it. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Cotter.
And I adjourn the meeting.
Thank you very much.
Yes,